What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode podcast interview where every single week I interview top real estate professionals, top entrepreneurs, and strip top badasses that are out there dominating their spaces. These are people choosing to not live life of mediocrity, but instead to go out there and create big, amazing, epic lives for themselves, their families, as well as have a big impact on others. And today you guys got another rock star, amazing special guest on the show, a dude that I personally have been working with for a lot of years now. And I wanted him to come on this show to talk about, this is a guy that's had a lot of success in his own sales career, right? He's created a very lucrative, amazing career for himself when it comes to sales, but he also works with some of the top in our industry. And he just has a wealth of knowledge of what top real estate agents are doing inside our industry right now today. So I asked him to come on and share a lot of great things with us. And again, you guys, our guest is a gentleman that, I'll just go right into the intro here. Business development at Cole Information for the last 15 years. And I think we've been working together, about 4 years now?
Yeah, I would say 4 or 5. That's for sure, Joshua. Yeah.
Yeah. So somebody that myself and my team have been working with for a long time and continue to work with because the platform that they have is just so instrumental into our business and our overall growth. And he travels across the country teaching agents 3 formulas on how to dominate your farms, right? The goal is to provide agents ideas on how they can create their own leads at a very high ROI. What's really interesting with this is I just, we're actually releasing, by the time people see this interview, we'll have just launched it. But did a Millionaire Real Estate Agent Summit where we interviewed 30 of the top real estate agents throughout North America. Right? We've, from Bob Lucido, who's actually the #1 real estate agent in North America. But everybody makes over $1 million a year that we had on and just have insane businesses. So, the top 1% of the top 1%, right? And what was really interesting, and I had a lot of off conversations when we weren't recording with them, but I asked them continuously, like, what are you doing in 2020 to combat all of this technology that's coming out? And the most common answer I got from every one of them that I asked that question to was they were utilizing technology to be more effective and efficient, but they were really focusing on getting back to the basics, right? More calling, more door knocking, more belly to belly, more prospecting, right? Because they know that most of their competitors are hiding behind a computer, and it's getting harder and harder to get ROIs through, some of these online lead sources. It's getting more expensive and harder. So again, that's why I wanted to have you come on so you could, teach us the tactics that are proven, that are working today at a very high level. So really stoked and honored to have my friend Tyler Steenken on the show. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Joshua, I love it. I would guess that those agents you're talking about, like a good majority of them have probably used our platform for years, right? And you're exactly right. Going across the country and working with a lot of the top trainers, coaching companies, the biggest brokerages across America, one of the themes I've really heard here recently is the new focus on relationships, right? Having relevant conversations with people, right? And creating your own leads. Because one of the things that people have discovered is if they go calculate how much money the ROI on the leads that they're buying, I'm hearing, we're really not making that much money off of them, right? And so the whole goal is to grow a business and sustain a business. And that's where people are going back to the basics and just going out there and prospecting and reaching out to people that they don't know, but are around, a strategic reason, around a just listed, around a just sold, that sort of thing. So, and that's why Cole itself has been around for 70 years, right? We've been around for 7 decades. And the concept was 7 decades ago was if you're a small business, whether you're a roofer or a carpet cleaner or a realtor or a lender, you would want to market to your closest neighbors around your prior job site or your most recent client or customer and use them as a reference or use them as a talking point to reach out to the neighbors. So that's what we're doing. That's what Cole allows any small business to do. We have tens of thousands of small businesses across the country who use us today and over 10,000 of the top realtors across the country who use us today. So I have 3 different main formulas that some of the biggest agents in the country have shared with us. And I'd love to, share those tips with your audience as well, Joshua.
Yeah, absolutely love to hear them. And I've tried so many different data providers out there, and you guys are hands down the best. And that's why I've been a client for so many years. When we're looking at, whatever, when you're trying to reach out, I mean, the difference of, I think people don't understand the importance of good data, right? Because let's just say you might hear a statistic of maybe coal is 5% more accurate than another data provider that somebody was using previously or I was using before, right? And now my experience is it's much more accurate than that. But let's just say it's only 5%. Well, man, if you're doing, calling for several hours each and every day,
Yep.
that compounding effect over a year of 5% more accurate data, I mean, that can be 100 or 200 grand in difference of business. I mean, it's unreal the difference that accurate data can mean to you in your business.
Right, exactly. And the agents who know their business, they're talking about contact rates, right? That's the whole goal, is how many conversations every day can I have? So if you have more accurate data or more data to pull from, you're going to have more conversations, right? And with us being around forever, we've reinvented ourselves over the years as well. We've gotten new data providers, new partners. Recently we just started scoring all of our data and giving that as an option to all of our clients as well. So if you're going in there and grabbing a neighborhood or a zip code, you have the decision of, do I want all possible records? Do I want the best possible records? Or do I want kind of in the middle, right? Because obviously the cleaner your list is, the smaller it's going to be. But then some people will say, Tyler, I want anybody who might be possibly tied to this neighborhood. So we give that option for all of our clients as well, depending on what sort of outreach that they're doing.
Yeah. And what I love about this, because so many real estate agents might think of, a company like yours only applying to those that are just going to be your standard circle prospecting, right? And there's so many other ways, like, than just your standard cold calling that most agents think of. Like, look, I'm not a guy that's a big cold caller. I've never built my business in that way, but a few ways that we utilize your guys's data, which I guess it can still be considered cold calling, but neighborhood invites, right? Local community invites,
Yes.
Right? Maybe you're growing a Facebook group for a subdivision or a local neighborhood, and you want to just do courtesy invites, for that. Or a lot of the top real estate agents that I'm seeing now are getting really involved with creating different kinds of charity events in their charity and different drives and different things inside their neighborhoods and inviting people to those. So it's not just the, standard, do you want to sell your home? I mean, it can be if you want it to be, right? But there's so many other powerful things that you can utilize this for. And with that being said, man, I know you got 3 of them that you're going to share with us.
Yeah, and I mean, man, you just led right into it, right? Of the non-confrontational phone calls, right? I mean, that's what you want to do. And so, and everything that we talk about is about a multi-channel approach, right? With a hyper-local area, right? So you want to grab a specific neighborhood, right? A specific neighborhood or a specific zip code, whatever area that you want to hone in on, right? And then a multi-channel approach. So it's calling, it's emailing, it's door knocking, it's doing whatever you can to get in front of this group, right? So a multi-channel approach at a very hyper-local area. And again, my PowerPoint slide is now just taking a little time, but that's what we talk about. So it's targeting your ideal prospects at the right time, and then just not waiting around for leads or referrals, right? So the first case study that I talk a lot about, the first formula is how to become a community dominator. And so Greg Harrelson, he's been a client of ours for about a decade, right? A top 1% agent nationwide. I'm sure, Joshua, you've seen him around. He's on a lot of panels across the country talking about his success as well. And so I recently interviewed him, and he shared with me a lot of the talking points that you just talked about, Joshua. And what he talks about is, first of all, community dominator. That is his term. I want to give him the recognition for that, because I think it has a sexy twang to it, right? Community dominator. And so I just asked him, Greg, how do you dominate a community? How do you become a community dominator? Because number one is you got to find your farm, right? Find your target area that you want to go after. Most likely it's an area that you live in, you go to church in, your kids go to school in, somewhere you have access to that farm, right? And then a higher turnover rate, obviously, as well, is what you'd want. And then the first thing that he says that he does is he'll hold a community event and invite all the neighbors to participate, right? So think about all the different ways that you can maybe engage with that community. So maybe it's a movie in the park. Maybe it's having vendors come set up at the park. And now you can call and email and door knock and invite all those neighbors to come stop by. Think about giving back. Is there a food shelter nearby? Is there an animal shelter nearby? So now you can maybe just set up shop at an animal shelter on Sunday. And now prior to that, a week prior, you can call and email, door knock the neighbors and invite them to the Lincoln, Nebraska animal shelter at 70th and Pine Lake. We'll be there on Sunday volunteering. We'd love for you to stop by, bring, supplies for animals, right? Because what it allows you to do, everybody, is it lets everybody's guard down. And what Greg says, he doesn't want to just call everybody right away and ask if they want to sell their house, because it's kind of off-putting. But what this allows people to do is they put their guard down, and then you can ask them questions, right? So Joshua, how long have you lived in the neighborhood? Where are you from originally? Have you ever thought about moving back there? Right? That's a very non-confrontational way to get people to open up, right? What do you love about the neighborhood, Joshua? Is there anything that you don't like? And again, people will start opening up and saying, yeah, we love the neighborhood. We've been here for 20 years, but our last daughter graduated about 5 years ago. A lot of our friends have moved. We're maybe looking to downsize soon. And he says by holding these sort of events, he gets so many people he gets hot leads right away from people who are looking to maybe sell in 3 months or 3 months, whatever it is. But those are leads before they went onto a lead site and registered their company name, right? They're going to him because now they're seeing him as the industry expert. And then you just start notifying the neighborhood anytime there's any sort of activity, right? So there's a new listing in the neighborhood. It gives you a reason to call and email them. A just sold in the neighborhood, an open house in the neighborhood, all trigger events, right? That give you a reason to do an outreach. And then he'll create an e-newsletter specific for, if it's Edenton South subdivision. And he'll get really high open rates because in the subject line, he'll put Edenton South e-newsletter, right? And he sends them a bank statement for their neighborhood. Are home prices up? Are they down? The number of transactions that happened? Did a new restaurant open up? He goes, I don't send them my grandma's chili recipe, right? I don't want them to think I'm a really good cook. I want them to see me as, the industry expert when it comes to homes, right? So that's what he does. And then his last step is he'll create a custom audience in Facebook specific for that neighborhood. So again, you could go into a product like ours and get the 800 people that live in Edenton South. And then as you are doing these community events, you ask for additional contact information. You start adding those all into, a file for the Edenton South neighborhood. You upload that into Facebook and all of a sudden you're omnipresent. You're everywhere, right? And people are like, wow, Greg, he is everywhere. He really knows our community. He's somebody that I want to use as a realtor. So again, but everything that he did is a very non-intrusive way of doing an outreach for people, right? Because I hear people all day long that call expireds, and definitely you should be doing that all day long. But you could be the 50th agent that morning to call an expired. You can get burned out really quickly calling an expired versus these are kind of friendly phone calls, an informational phone call. And he says all the time, think long-term. You're going to get a lot of people who say, hey, maybe 2 years out, 3 years out, but you'll get a lot of short-term leads as well. Yeah. So that's formula number one. What are your high-level thoughts on that, Joshua?
Yeah, man. I mean, I love it, dude. It's, it allows you to give back, right? And focus on the relationships. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about getting people to know you, like you, and trust you. And the best way to do that is by getting face-to-face. So I love launching off where you're breaking bread together and getting to know each other and having deeper conversations. And then, kind of, I don't want to say bombarding, but you're marketing strategically to them after they've already had that connection with you. So it's already a warm relationship. Yep. And, the thing that I'm always looking at for my business, just because it's like, look, I want to create businesses, not a job, right? So I started thinking about like his strategies. It's the first time I've heard his strategy and thinking about like, look, for those neighborhood invite calls, right? Or even some of the updates, because it's just delivering value that can be delegated easily to an assistant. Right? Because I can't personally build my business, in the beginning, okay, but over time, like I got to delegate this stuff out. I can't trade time for money. And then, Greg can just show up and manage those relationships, because as busy as he is, I'm guessing he's, able to delegate out those calls.
You're exactly right. And it's, getting a VA to do something like that as well. And everything that I talk about, if you're a single agent today who's just getting started, these are all things that you can do to help your bottom line, right? They're ROI, very inexpensive things that you're doing. But then once you get to the next level, right, then you start outsourcing sources, things like this as well. Absolutely, Joshua.
Yep, 100%, man.
All right. So that's formula number one. Formula number two kind of is the same concept of non-intrusive, but it's leveraging that you have buyers that want to live in a specific area, right? So I know inventory is still pretty tight in a lot of markets across the country. And so John Masillo, he's a client of ours in New Hampshire, and we're in mutual Facebook groups. And I remember he had reached out to me and messaged me and said, hey, Tyler, I think you should interview me because I have a really good story to tell. Because he wanted people to know right away that he's not a big cold caller. So kind of what you had talked about, Joshua, earlier. It's like, yeah, he's like, it's not in my DNA. I don't just love just pounding the phone calls, and I was never going to do it. But he had a lot of success here recently using a neighborhood strategy, because he had buyers that said, hey, we own our house now. We live in a super busy street, and you can sell our property, John, but not until you can find us a house in a neighborhood that we want to live in, right? We're being picky this time, right? So we're not going to just list our house, sell it, and have nowhere to go. So John then went into our product, grabbed like the 800 people that lived in a certain subdivision that they wanted to live in, downloaded the cell phones and put the cell phones and uploaded them into Sly Dial or Sly Broadcast. And again, it's a ringless voicemail system, everybody. There's lots of different companies out there. So the concept is that you can upload a list, one cell phone number or 1,000 cell phone numbers, and then drop a voicemail with the phone never ringing, right? It just delivers the voicemail. So you can do a big outreach, anywhere from a penny or 2 pennies or so per delivered voicemail. So John delivered a voicemail that said something like this. Hey there, my name is John Masillo. I'm a local realtor. My office is actually just down the street from your neighborhood. Now, I was calling because I have a great family that currently lives on Patterson Street right now. As you know, Patterson's a really busy street with a lot of traffic, and they have 2 young kids, and they don't want to raise their kids on that busy street. It's dangerous. They want to live in a neighborhood like yours, where it has big trees. It's a quiet neighborhood where the kids can kind of run around. Even better, Maxey Elementary is just a few blocks away, and they'd love to be able to have their kids walk to school. And I was wondering if you knew of anybody who was looking to sell right now or getting close to list their house in the market. I'd love to bring my buyers to the property before it hits the market, right? A very non-intrusive voicemail. He also sent an email with sort of the same messaging. He said he got about a 50% open rate because he mentioned the subdivision name in the email that he sent, the 300 emails in that neighborhood. So fast forward, he found a retired couple where the husband actually responded to his voicemail, and ironically, the wife replied to his email. They hadn't listed their house yet, hadn't even talked to an agent, but they were in talks of moving into a retirement home. And so he brought his buyers to the property. They loved it. He got a pocket listing out of the deal. So I challenge everybody, Joshua, on this podcast to say, hey, if you have buyers that want to live close to a lake, around a golf course, closer to their in-laws, be as specific as you can to let a neighborhood know that, right? I recently talked to a client of ours who had a family that wanted to get closer to an elementary school because they had a special resource for her special needs child, right? And she's like, yeah, this would be a great way for me to reach out to that neighborhood that this family wants to get into, okay? A couple quick tips here would be, one is John actually got a Google phone number. So I've heard that a Google phone number is free, but then someone say it's like $5 a month, but he used that for his caller ID. And so that way, as people replied to his voicemail or called him back, they called him back on this certain number, and he knew instantly, like, oh, it was in regards to the voicemail they just dropped. He didn't want to be, a deer in headlights of, oh, what was that about? And so when they called back, he was on his game. He knew it was about. And so he was able to get additional leads from the same campaign as well. And so that was just the beginning. So that's what John was like, oh gosh, well, I could do this with other things now. So that's tip number 2. It doesn't have to just be for buyers. It could be a let neighbors know about an open house or about your community event that you're doing and stuff as well. Thoughts on that, Joshua?
Yeah, I love it, man. I'm curious to think of too with that, if you're able to add that to your wheelhouse, right? The amount of extra buyer clients that you're able to convert to sign up buyer broker agreement with you, even though you may not employ that strategy, maybe go out there and find what they like and you don't need to employ that. But just the fact that you are hustling to find them what they want with off-market deals, and you can articulate that and you have a testimonial around that, man, it's got to be so powerful for just those buyer consultations all together. Right? I mean, and like, I think most of our markets right now, at least the time that people will be watching this when we first release, inventory is so damn tight. Man, I mean, I can't tell you how many clients that we have where it's like we get beat out on 12 homes, 12 offers before we get one, right? Yeah. And to be able to eliminate some of that competition and yeah, I think it's awesome, man.
Right. And again, it just goes back to rolling up your sleeves and earning the business and be as truthful as you can, everybody. So again, if you have a story to tell about potential buyers, tell that story, right? Don't be scared to do that, right? I mean, if it's, one of my clients is 8 months pregnant and they're hoping to, they want to find their house now so they can raise their kid in a certain neighborhood, right? Be as specific as possible.
Yeah. And I love the non-confrontational, approach is it's really the first time that I've heard that exact terminologies for that style of calling, right. But, again, I think so many real estate agents don't take action on calling or door knocking because it's like the common thing I hear is I don't want to be that pushy, salesy, sleazy, right, person. And none of us do, right? Like none of us can, or at least most of us can't stand that person,
right?
But they don't know kind of outside of the box or backdoor ways in there doing it, so even like just like if maybe you just had a just listed or just sold, right? Just calling all the neighbors in that neighborhood with just a courtesy update, hey, I'm not here to try to sell you anything. I'm just reaching out to let you know I just sold a home on 123 West Main Street in your neighborhood. I know is a homeowner in the area. It's good to know, and you're probably always curious about how the market's doing and what the current value of your home is, right? So you deliver that information to them, but then a nonchalant way in is, hey, I've been calling all your neighbors, and several of your neighbors have been curious to find out how much equity they have in their home. So I told them as a courtesy, I'd run a market valuation report. I just wondered if you're curious about how much equity you have in your home and if you'd like to be added to the list. Right? Again, just such an easy shoe in, right, to get that relationship started.
And again, based on how that conversation goes, then you just start asking more questions, right? Where are you from originally? Oh yeah, Kearney, that's a couple hours west of Lincoln, right? Oh yeah, so when did you end up moving to Lincoln? And you just start have you ever thought, do you have family that lives in Kearney still? You guys ever thought about moving back to Kearney, right? It leads into a dialogue. And, and NAR puts out all sorts of studies, Joshua, but I've heard over and over again that 70% of all sellers will only interview one agent to list and sell their home. They'll go with the person they have a relationship with, that's top of mind, right? And so I talk to clients all day long that say by doing these sort of strategies and then taking these leads they get and putting them into a nurturing campaign, it almost makes it awkward for these leads to go somewhere else or to go onto a website and fill out their form, right? Because they've created a relationship with them. And so then it's just the timing of when they're ready to list, boom, that's who they're going with.
Yeah. And as we talked about in the beginning of this interview, with most, if not all, at least every top agent I know in the industry, which is most of them, right, through the podcast and just being a top agent myself and networking with them, their focus being so huge into relationships and the human connection, which it always should have been, right? But I think as an industry as a whole, we kind of took advantage and kind of neglected that, and now we're realizing the importance of it, because the one thing that Zillow will never do, iBuyers will never do, right? And any of these, Amazon or whatever the hell's, happening with these tech spaces, the one thing that they will never do is develop that deep human relationship and deep connection. So as real estate agents, man, we got to be focusing on that more so than ever. And that's how we really combat, these tech conglomerates coming into our space.
Exactly. So then talking about top agents, I'm going to go back to another top agent. So I love talking about John Masolo as well, because he'll say, hey, he's doing, 2 or 3 transactions a month. And for him in Boston or in the New Hampshire area, He has a big, strong Boston accent, but a New Hampshire area that he does really well, and he does a really good career doing it, right? And he's a single agent doing it himself. But then I'm going to go back to Kyle Whistle, who's another mega agent. So Wall Street Journal recently listed him as the number 79 agent in the country, right? So similar to Greg Harrelson, Kyle's been using our product off and on for about a decade as well. And when I interviewed him here, Joshua, he talks about how he'll hold exclusive open houses for just the neighbors on the Friday before his Sunday public open house, right? So he'll go and he'll make a big deal about it. He'll actually mail out physical invites to the open house, but then he'll call, he'll email, he'll door knock, invite all the neighbors to stop by, right? He'll get a food truck to stop by and park it in the driveway of the open house. A lot of times he'll even offer to buy food for the first, 10 families that come through or whatever it is as well, right? So when they come through the house, he then says he makes sure to get additional contact information from anybody who stops by. Like, that's mandatory. He actually has like a little survey questionnaire that he asks them to fill out and stuff as well to get know a little bit more about the neighbors, and then ask all those questions, the same questions that we were talking about before. Where are you from originally? Start having dialogue with folks. And he goes, if it helps you sell the house, great. However, the ultimate goal is it helps create meaningful relationships with neighbors who may be wanting to sell soon, right? Because the neighbors who come through the house and walk through it tend to be the ones that want to compare the inside of that house to their house, because if it really does sell for X amount, man, we might be looking to sell as well here soon, right? Two quick things that Kyle also points out. At the listing appointment, when they go for a listing appointment, they talk about all the marketing that they do to get that house sold. And they talk about, hey, I subscribe to a database that provides us contact information for all of your neighborhood, right? The entire subdivision. And so what we'll do is we'll call and email everybody and let them know about the new listing, ask them if nobody wants to move into the neighborhood, and invite them to an open house. Will any of my competitors do that? I don't think any other agent will do that, right? So he can close people on the spot at the listing appointment because it has it's such a big impactful thing to say, right? He can even log in and show them here. Yeah, look, here's the 500 people right here at my fingertips. All your neighbors, we'll contact them. And then he'll also say, he deals a lot with higher end listings, right? Who sometimes tend to be on the market a little bit longer. And most of the time, because maybe they're overpriced. So he can go back to Mr. and Mrs. Seller, whether it's in 2 weeks or 4 weeks, whatever it is, and ask for a price reduction. He can say, hey, when we met initially, I said I'd do all of these things, including calling, emailing, door knocking the neighbors. I did all of that. I really think the price it's overpriced right now. We need to get this house sold. Let's do a price reduction, right? So it's easier to ask for that price reduction by proving to them things that you've done, right? So just those two things alone, they don't help you create additional leads, but they help you close a listing appointment, and they help you get that house sold.
Yeah. Kyle's a good buddy of mine. I actually just talked to him last week. I interviewed him. He's one of our guest speakers on the Millionaire Real Estate Summit I was telling you.
Yes.
And, dude, some of his neighborhood open houses, that Friday evening, and it's exclusive to just the neighbors, the Friday evening one, right? And he's had as much as 200 neighbors show up, right? They do it up. But then, when they're catering food and, having, to the point where now they're bringing in bartenders and, throwing a party, right? People are giving accurate and opted-in information when they come to the door because he's giving them so much value.
Yes.
He's just saying that just recently, this was just like a couple weeks ago, because then on the following Saturday, they'll do the general public open house, right? But one of the neighbors came through and she's like, oh, I think my brother, he's been wanting to move here. I think this house would be perfect for him. So she had her brother come through the Saturday open house. Dude ended up buying the house. Right. Got both sides on, like a $1.5 million deal.
Right.
It's powerful stuff, dude. And look, we guys with this business, you heard the accolades, but he's a #1 real estate agent in San Diego County. Right. Does about $200 million a year in volume. Yes. And you go into his geo farm areas, like he dominates them. Yep. It's like you're not breaking in there, dude. But the intention that he has with it, with the neighborhood invites, calling all the neighbors and doing these events, right? And he's got such deep relationships from the consistency of doing that for so many years. He's just kind of landlocked those areas.
Cool. I mean, he says now he's getting the reputation where like neighbors are excited, like, yes, Kyle's doing another open house. They bring their coolers with them and roll their coolers down the street and set up in front of the food truck, right? I mean, they're excited about it. And yeah, I mean, he just he exploits the open house, right? That's the word I would use. So he doesn't just leverage an open house, he exploits it. So he'll even put up, dozens of signs around the subdivision advertising the open house, right? And neighbors love seeing that stuff. They want a realtor who's rolling up their sleeves and earning the business, right? And doing whatever they can to get that house sold. And he's building that reputation, and now other homeowners see it as well. And yeah, that's part of his marketing plan, and it's been working well for him for a long time.
Yeah. What I love about, all these strategies that you just shared, and when you have data sources like yours, that you can be intentional of the type of business that you're going after, is you get to then build a business that you love and you enjoy based on the type of events and things that you want to do, right? Like Kyle's able to just go out there and party with neighbors every Friday night, right? Right. Yeah. And, Greg's able to have the neighborhood events and parties, but you're able to then design a business that you love, right? And I think that's so damn important, right? If we're going to go out there and grind 10, 12 hours a day, man, you might as well be intentional with tactics and strategies that allow you to do shit you love doing.
Exactly. And then one thing I just wanted to touch on really quickly, and I know that going after listings is the most important thing to do in this industry, Joshua. And so that's what that's priority. I do guess we probably have some buyer's agents who are listening as well, right? And so I don't really have a slide for that per se, but one of the things that, especially over the last year, that we've had a lot of uptick with is buyer's agents who are using our platform to get apartment renter data. So one of the things you can do within Cole is here's the 3,000 apartment renters in this zip code, or here's the 300 apartment renters in this apartment building. And you actually get apartment 101, 102, 103, the tenant information, and get their cell phones and emails as well. So they'll then team up with a lender and maybe rent a space at the apartment complex or, a coffee house. And they'll call and email all those buyers and saying, hey, we're doing a workshop. We'll buy you free coffee on Sunday from noon to 2. Learn 4 steps on how to buy your first home, right? And so it's a way to, leverage those to get those relationships as well. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there, not knowing if we might have some buyer's agents listening as well, Joshua.
Yeah, love it. And one thing that I utilize you guys' service for constantly, because I do a lot of Facebook marketing as well. But with that, man, a lot of people are putting in dummy phone numbers, right? Or just only a name and email, right? But it allows me to go in there, and if I don't have accurate information, to be able to hunt down what the correct contact information is. And then now I can actually reach out to this lead that I just, paid $5 for, right?
Exactly. No, you're exactly right. And we have some of the biggest companies in the country that, sell expireds and FSBOs, and they're hooked up to our APIs behind the scenes, right? On a nightly feed that are doing those appending as well, right? Or companies, big, huge companies that generate leads that are adding on that as part of their service as well. So, yep, that's exactly what we're known for.
So can you walk us through, when it comes to cold directory as a service, right? Can you kind of walk us through like the different tools and different things that you can navigate as an agent for the different, so people, when they might be looking at this, wondering how would I use that in my business, or what kind of data can I get out of there? Can you just?
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, and the first thing is we don't want to make it too complex, right? So think about it. Instead of a phone book back in the day where you could search everybody by last name, Cole is a phone book, but by neighborhood or by street, right? So as a customer, you just log in with your own login credentials, you get access to your entire state, and then you just do the search that you want to do. So you can say, hey, I want everybody in a zip code who makes $100,000 or more, owns their home, and been there for 7 years, hit search. Your results could give you 3,000 people, and you get a combination of their landlines, cell phones, and emails were available, right? So that's kind of a way to use some analytics behind the scenes of want to build your own model of people more likely to sell, right? Been there for 7 years. Or maybe you're a Harley guy. Look at me, I'm not. But if you're a Harley guy, you could find all the people who own a motorcycle in a zip code, right? Or if you're sponsoring a golf event, here's all the golfers as a hobby in your zip code. And you just download it straight to Excel. So your list of, 1,200 people could be in an Excel spreadsheet within a matter of 30 seconds. And then you can import that into any system you might be using. We're also integrated with a lot of the major dialers and CRMs out there as well. So that'd be the zip code search. And then the next one would just be a neighborhood search where you could pick a subdivision name, or what I prefer is you just map it out, right? And that's the Google API that everybody else you're probably familiar with already, but you can map out Edenton South subdivision, get the 800 people that live there, add some demographics to your list, like length of residence, what lender they currently use, income, different age, maybe age. And so now when you download your list, you might do a different email campaign for somebody who's 70 versus 22, right? You might want to do. And so that's what we talked about, though, very hyper local. So we don't encourage anybody to download a list of 30,000 emails and start blasting away, right? You're not going to get anywhere with that. Instead, bring it down, lasso it to a small area, and then provide a multi-channel approach to that small area.
Yep.
And price-wise, it's very, very, very affordable. Our most common plan is just for a year. It's $9.95 for a year. So completely unlimited, no caps. You could download 100 records, 1,000,000 records. $9.95 for the year. And we do have some monthly options as well. So just you can contact our inside sales team. I'll pull up your landing page here in a second as well, where it's you can get a monthly rates as well with different plans that we offer too, Joshua.
Yeah, and for those of you that are watching or listening wherever you're at, we're gonna have a link right below where you can click, learn more about Cole, register on there, and get all the information that you need. But one quick, I guess, last final question that I have for you is, a thing that I get a lot, questions I get a lot, or question I get a lot from agents when it comes to, outbound dialing, is the concern around the DNC list. Right? I mean, what's your response to somebody that is concerned about that?
So always follow the law. That is what I'll say right away. And we're not attorneys, so do contact your broker on all that. Now, if you're inviting neighbors to an open house, is that a sales call? If you're collecting canned food for the People's City Mission at the Edenton South Park on Saturday, is that a sales call? Right? So I would challenge everybody to research that on their own and then decide. Now, Cole does have a couple options. We have an option where you can provide all possible numbers, right? And then an option where you can flag it, where it will say OK or DNC next to each phone number. And that way, as a small business, you can decide who you're going to call, or maybe change up your script accordingly based on on how it's flagged.
Yep.
That's a very robotic answer for you, Joshua, but it's a complex answer, and we get asked about it all the time, and that's kind of our general guideline on all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do, and again, man, I mean, everybody's got to, like you said, do your research, do your due diligence. There's always I guess, a risk involved if you are going to call people that are on the DNC list, right? So you got to approach this with I guess, at your own risk, right? But man, over the years, I mean, I haven't tracked how many total reach outs I've done over my 15+ year career, but hundreds of thousands, if not, in the millions at this point over the years, with open house invites and so forth. And, I've just found, man, if you just kill people with kindness, right? I mean, I'll get the oh, hey, why are you calling me? I'm on the DNC list. Oh, I sincerely apologize. I didn't see that on my records. I'm updating it right now. You'll never hear from me again. I really apologize for disrupting your day. I hope you have an amazing day.
Yep.
Right. If you're just really tactful about it, like, just never had an issue.
Right. And then just move on, right? And keep on calling, keep on door knocking, keep on emailing, the multi-channel approach. Absolutely.
Yep. Love it, man. Love it, dude. So you guys, again, we're going to have a link below. And I think there was, there's some other training that you have there with that.
Yeah. So what I'd like to do, Joshua, is those 3 case studies, the 3 formulas that I talk about, I have the 20-minute interviews that I did with each of those agents. So Greg Harrelson, John Masillo, and Kyle Whistle. honestly, like when I interviewed them, I was writing down notes left and right and learning from them as well. So I'd love to share those with all of your audience members as well. So as long as you go to the landing page that's in the comment section and fill out your information, we'll make sure that we'll send you those files for you guys to watch those at your own leisure as well. And I think there's definitely some golden nuggets that any agent could learn from, whether you're a brand new agent or somebody who's been in the business for 20 years and trying to level up a little bit.
Yeah, awesome. Love it, man. And again, guys, wherever you're watching, listen, there'll be a link right below to go ahead and click on that, and you can go check that out. And Tyler, I know you're extremely busy, man. I truly appreciate you taking time out of your busy to be here, dude.
All right. Appreciate it as well. And go make it happen, everybody. This is a year to make it happen. Go out there and earn your business.
Yep, 100%. And you guys that are watching, listen, thank you so much for all your support, being here, watching, listen. Keep kicking ass and keep up the amazing work, and we'll see you next time. Peace.